Welcome to 10 Piece, the podcast where we talk every 10 days about 10-minute pieces of the One Piece live action. Today's episode is all about Luffy, so Gamo Gamo no!
Along the shore our course prevails, listening to the ocean's tales, in search of treasures and dreams, 10 Piece.
Hello fellow pirates, welcome back to 10 Piece. This podcast episode starts at minute 10, where Yasop is talking to young Luffy, and ends on young Luffy finding the devil fruit. So this episode will all be about Alvida, and the one they call stupid, Monkey D. Luffy. Before I hop right into the episode, I want to say something that might be interesting for multilingual people as well. I just realized with cutting the first episode that my English is so vastly different from my usual German native language. I have this like multi-tone and meme culture way of speaking, and I realized that my English is completely formal in that sense. And that's actually a thing for other people as well. It's called bilingual personality, and you basically have a little bit of a different personality when you're learning and speak in other languages. And I kinda know this already, but it still fascinates me. So I want to declare this goal of me in the podcast to improve my English with the podcast. So maybe when we finished with the season, you might hear a difference from episode 1. Okay, last time we left Kid Luffy on Shanks' ship in Windmill Village in his flashback, and he's arguing with the red hair pirates that he is worthy of sailing with them. But Shanks says the sea is very dangerous, and the scar on his face is a proof of that. So Luffy immediately thinks, okay, scars mean I'm tougher, and that leads him to the stupid idea that follows. He says, I will show you, and goes away. Also, I wanted to point out that in the shots on the ship, you can clearly see that they have chests marked by the Marines. So they stole this from the Marines? I found this a nice addition. Also, I wanted to point more of the cast of Shanks' crew. We have Yasop the Great, played by Steve Mark. We have Ben Beckman, played by Laudo Liebenberg. And we have Lucky Roo, played by Enlala Morgan Kutu. Also, if you found something that I didn't spot it, please write me or leave a comment on YouTube. I would love to add that in later episodes. Also, you can spot other members of Shanks' crew, like Lime Juice, Bonk Punch, and Hongo. Then Ben Beckman points out to Shanks that Luffy is an orphan, and they might want to take it easy on him. But Shanks, as the wise man he is, he says, better a disappointed kid now than a dead one later. And now Luffy is yelling for attention. He holds up a knife in his hand and stands on the figurehead of the Red Force. Then Luffy says he isn't afraid of getting hurt, and he will prove it, and stabs himself right under his left eye. And later we learn that he wanted to hit his eye actually, to have a scar like Shanks. And in the manga there isn't a confirmation where Shanks got his scar from, but it's very realistic that he got his scar from a later character named Blackbeard. But that would also mean that Blackbeard is indirectly responsible not only for Shanks' scar, but for Luffy's scar as well. The music gets dramatic, some of Luffy's blood is splattered over his t-shirt. And we're cutting back to Monkey D. Luffy in present time. While he nibbles on some piece of meat, Kobe asks him, why would anyone be a pirate? And Luffy answers with, it's the best thing there is. You have the wind in your back, with salty sea air, your loyal crew by your side, and you never know what's on the horizon. That is, like I said in the last episode, a romanticized version of pirates. It's all what a child would envision a pirate would experience if they're going for an adventure, sailing out to the sea. And it really shows Luffy's nature. And many people in the fandom call Luffy stupid. But I can't stress this enough. Intelligence comes in different ways. You might don't know stuff what others know, and you might not think about your plans, but Luffy is really emotionally intelligent. He understands without any context the feeling of others and can help them to feel better. To do this, it needs a little bit of wisdom about people and about how people feel. Also, when he comes up with ideas, he's very clever. And what people usually don't talk about is his self-confidence. This guy is the impersonation of self-confidence, okay? He knows what he's been up to, he knows what he wants, and he directly goes for it. And he does that so easily that somebody might call that stupid, because he's looking forward to achieve it. He knows that he will reach his goal, so he goes for it. So I think it's the self-confidence that people sometimes call Luffy stupid for, because he's confident he can achieve it. Why should he rethink that? And then he says, being a pirate is all about being free. And we heard this in Roger's speech as well. What does free even mean to you? Are you really free right now? Can you do whatever you want right now? Could you buy a boat right now and sail on the seas without any negative sides to it? And I think that's why the feeling of being adventurous, to explore the world, is a big part of freedom. Because you're not being forced into one place and can experience all the different cultures and the world around you. But the topic of freedom will pop up time to time, so we have plenty more time to talk about it later. Then Kobe says that nothing is free in Alvida's crew, and she even tells him when he needs to sleep and eat. And then he says he even have to paint her toenails, which I found hilarious. By the way, Alvida's toenails, like her fingernails, are dark red. And I never thought of this, but I looked into it, and painting toenails is a thing that even existed 3200 before Christ. What? So painting toenails existed even before pirates. I didn't know that. But back then it was a part of combat equipment, like war paint. Then I looked into it when toothbrushes got invented, because we talked about them last episode. And the toothbrushes we know were invented in 1938, but before the toothbrush there existed a thing called chew stick, which they used to try to clean their teeth. And chew sticks were even used 3000 before Christ, like painted toenails. It's so crazy to me. Then Luffy asks Kobe why he doesn't leave Alvida. And Kobe says, well, she never let me go. And Luffy tries to teach him a lesson and says to him, you should never let anyone tell you what you can't do. And if he would do what others think he should do, he wouldn't have set sail to find a One Piece. Kobe is totally shocked with his opinion, like in the manga. But in the manga, Kobe reflects what he's saying and monologues with himself about, okay, if it's so simple, why I don't do it? Luffy completely says to him, I will try to reach my dream, even if I die. And if I can't reach my dream, I at least died while trying it. And Kobe in the manga is so shocked from this that he tries to stand up against Alvida. But in the live action, he's more shocked and getting pushed into his role. Then Kobe says, the One Piece? Gold Roger's treasure? Every pirate is searching for that. And Luffy says, yeah, why not? Maybe I'm the one who finds it. From here on out, he wants to go to the Grand Line. And Kobe says, Grand Line? It's a pirate graveyard. And of course, it's a pirate graveyard. The Grand Line is very dangerous. And guess which of the pirates are returning from the Grand Line? Not the ones who are successful, only the ones that are not successful. So of course there are only bad examples from people going to the Grand Line. With 100-foot waves and sea beasts that can crush your bones. Yeah, it's dangerous. And it's hard enough to getting from island to island, without considering what are on the islands. So yeah, of course, many will fail. But those who didn't fail on the Grand Line and are successful won't return to their hometown, I guess. That's why the numbers of people coming back from the Grand Line are way higher. Then Kobe points out if he goes to the Grand Line, he can't return. And Luffy says, that sounds fun. He doesn't want to return. He wants to achieve his goal. Then you hear Alvida snoring in the background. And Luffy asks, wait, is that one of the sea beasts? And Kobe says, no, that's just Alvida. So now they're both trying to sneak out, getting Luffy on a little boat to let him sail away. Also a detail that I found, it's funny that her whole ship is decorated pink, right? And I think Alvida kept Kobe because he has pink hair, right? It makes so much sense. So Kobe is essentially a part of her collection of pink things. Luffy grabs a paddle and Kobe points out he has to go north. But Luffy doesn't know directions, so he asks which way was north? And by turning, he hits the bell on the ship with the paddle in his hand. The bell rings, everybody wakes up. And you hear Alvida screaming, what the hell is going on up there? And this will nearly be the last appearance of Alvida in the first season. So I just wanted to give you more Alvida trivia here. I realized that Alvida in the manga always refers to herself as the most beautiful on the sea. And in the live action, she refers to herself as the most strongest on the sea. So they changed that to have the focus on strong instead of beautiful. And at one point in the manga, Oda stated that it was because of Alvida has no mirrors on her ship. She thought that she's actually the most beautiful person on the sea. And in the live action, they even gave her multiple mirrors in the background and in the beginning where you see the bounty poster. And that even reminded me of the Snow White story with the phrase, who is the most beautiful, looking into a mirror. So actually she's the character that turns herself from the evil queen into a Snow White role with her devil fruit. Also her ship, the Miss Love Duck, could be a reference to the Ugly Duckling. Oh, also her name refers to a female pirate legend named Alvida. There's a story written about Alvida that says that she was the daughter of a king and her dad arranged a marriage to Alf, the crown prince of Denmark. So Alvida refused her father's choice and she got away with friends on a ship. And while sailing, they encountered a pirate ship without a captain. The pirates loved her and named her the new captain. And then one day, the prince that she should have been married to met her on sea during a battle where he won, and before he could kill her, she revealed her identity and agreed to marry him. And then she was Queen of Denmark. Funny story, right? And from these little stories, you know that Oda loves his pirate stories. And he did his homework. Okay, back to the scene. Alvida is very pissed, for sure, and asks for the meaning of this. She asks if Luffy is the bounty hunter and Koby wanted to betray her. Koby is still in defense mode and says, no, that's not what happened. And while asking him who he is, Luffy says, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, never heard of you. And Luffy says, well, remember the name, because I will be the king of the pirates, which they just laugh off. Also, we have to talk about names for a second, because in Japanese, you usually say the last name before the first name, like Oda Eijiro or Toriyama Akira. So most of the One Piece names begin with the last name as well. You have Monkey, his last name, which definitely stands for his childlike and funny behavior, and we have his first name, Luffy. Sadly, there's no definitive answer for this, but I think Luffy is a mixture of laugh and goofy. Also, if you didn't notice, Eiichiro Oda was highly inspired by Akira Toriyama's work Dragon Ball. And that's why Luffy is highly inspired by Son Goku. And Son Goku himself was inspired by Sun Wukong, the character from the story A Journey to the West, who was an ape. That's why Goku have his tail. That's why Luffy is called Monkey. So he's also a little bit inspired by The Journey to the West. Funny when you think about that he going from the East Blue and sailing to the west in the Grand Line. Okay, it's more like southwest, but you know what I mean. After Alvida laughs it off, she says, okay, you must be new around here, because who is the strongest pirate all around? And everybody answers with, Captain Alvida! She points out to Koby that he didn't said the same, and Luffy reminds him that he's his own man, he doesn't need to reply. And while Alvida says that he will be mine forever, that's not what Koby said. And then he says stuff that Koby never said, but he actually said in the manga, that she is cruel and mean and dumb as a sea cow. And this is our first reference to Mumu, our sea cow that got cut from the story. And I didn't point it out, but for the ones who never experienced the Grand Line, I meant sea cow, not like our sea cows. Mumu is basically how you would imagine a mermaid cow looks like. Can you imagine that? In big, as a monster, that is a sea cow in One Piece. Alvida gets angry, and he swings her mace for Luffy. Luffy dodges it multiple times, while Alvida is hitting her own crewmates. Then we see Pepoko putting out a gun and trying to shoot Luffy, and this is a moment where many that never experienced the franchise were left out completely confused. What? I've seen so many reactions, and every time people freak out what is happening. When people hear pirate story, they never could have imagined that a pirate story could include superpowers. And one time somebody said to me, One Piece is too superficial. They like Pirates of the Caribbean more. But even that is fictional, so... Huh? Alvida is completely confused. She never saw a devil fruit before. Koby gasps a little bit of hope, while Alvida is swinging her mace again. This time Luffy stretches out as a C shape, and this is very unusual for Luffy to do, but I love that they establish his powers a little bit different. She asks, what kind of monster are you? And he replies with, the stretchy kind. She goes for another swing and hits a crewmate again, because Luffy is grabbing the ropes above him and dragging himself up. He laughs and then, like a little monkey, climbs alongside the sail to the back part of the ship. He intentionally stands next to the steering wheel. Alvida is going for another swing and completely destroys it. Alvida, still in shock what happened, screams and blames it all on Koby. She goes for an overhead swing, And Luffy goes in front of him and just bounces back her attack. Now you see the difference in his eyes. Kobe actually let him eat something beforehand. And now a friend of his is threatened by someone? This is serious Luffy status here. That's enough. And he stretches out to begin his very first named attack in the series. And we already know that later they will have the discussion about big pirates call out their finishing moves. This is a typical trope in manga and anime. And I love how they integrated this into the storyline of the One Piece live action. Because if Shanks and the other pirates that Luffy knows did this all the time, of course it's natural for Luffy to do this as well as the finishing moves. And Zoro, who never grew up with pirates, can't wrap his head around this concept. And now Luffy goes for the iconic Gamu Gamu no Pistol! And Inaki said in the interview he really tried to make a mix of the Japanese and the English one to make it his own and also pleasing both fans. And I really love this. Also, this attack is a reference to the manga where Luffy claims to Shanks that he will one day be so strong that his arms are as powerful as a pistol. That's why this is the iconic "Look Shanks, how far I got" attack. Alvida screams and being thrown in the water. Luffy smiles and looks at Alvida's crew. They are in shock. The boat is clearly burning. And then he asks if anybody got a problem with Kobe. And everybody's like, no. And Luffy says, let's go. And they take a boat and enough food for a few days. While Kobe is still in shock and asks, what? Luffy's saying, yeah, you coming with me, right? Kobe looks on the ground while you're seeing the reflection of the fire on the boat. Perfect mayhem. Then we cut to a different island. We see mushroom-shaped hills and a deep forest. The camera is flying down to a shrine. 2 circles on the ground made out of candles. And it says, Six's Island. Somebody with 3 swords approaching it, lighting up a match with a matchbox that says, Beast of Baltimore. This is a reference to Frankie later in the story being mistaken for a beast on Baltimore. We see his eyes in close-up. He's lighting up some candles. He uses a cubic stare into your soul and says to someone, you can come out. Clearly, this is Roronoa Zoro, played by Makenyu, who you might know from Pacific Rim Uprising, Knights of the Zodiac, or the Rurouni Kenshi adaptation. If you didn't know this, Makenyu is the son of the actor, producer, director, and martial artist Shin Ichichiba, who played many roles as a samurai and knew his martial arts so well. You may know him from Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, and he even was in The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. So Makenyu is Japanese, his father was well known in Japan, he's beloved by Japanese fans, he already knew sword fighting, and his favorite character from One Piece since he was a child was Roronoa Zoro. So it's such an honor for him to play this role. He prepared for it as best as he could. He even got the 3 ear piercings for it. Yeah, they are real. And he colored his hair green during filming. Then we see a man approaching Zoro, talking about people often visit shrines to light candles for the ones who they lost. Why did Zoro light up 2 candles? One for Kuina, and the second one for the man who approached him, of course. Zoro points out that he's been following him for a long time and asks him what he wants from him, and the man makes him an offer. And this is actually mentioned in the manga and in the anime, but we never seen this played out before, so this is very exciting for fans. He's Mr. 7 from Baroque Works. Baroque Works is a company and is like pirate mafia spies, and they will be the main antagonist of the 2nd season. So it's really fun that they included them even in the 1st season to make more connections to the other parts of the story. Because East Blue is kinda like disconnected from the rest of the Grand Line, but you could argue it's this way because the Grand Line in itself is very contagious. But it's awesome to have this kind of foreshadowing even here. He offers him a business card of Baroque Works and you see their logo on it. This won't be the last card we will see. So he's reaching out to him because they want to recruit Zoro. And he asks, okay, are you a kind of assassins or something? He says it's a kind of honor to be included in the Baroque Works. But Zoro has his own thing going on. Immediately Zoro mocks him with having a face tattoo with a fat number 7 on his cheek. And if he will be in it, he wants to be number 1. So the character of Mr. 7 never appeared in the manga, so we never saw him. But Oda drew a design for the One Piece live action team, so they have a design to go with. And I love this, that the live action writers like Matt Owens ask Oda so many details that Oda realizes, okay, there's a gap, and just fills it, And this makes the manga itself more complete. So the live action itself even improves the manga. Then he says to him, if you deny that, you will pay with your life. And Zoro just answers with, then they should have sent someone better than number 7. They begin to fight, and Zoro barely uses his swords here. And I really can point out what the statue is looking like. It reminds me of a Bulbasaur, so I think it may be a frog, which would fit well later with the frog in the well and stuff. But after some fight, Zoro puts out the candles with just his sword powers. And while Mr. 7 tries to cut him, Zoro is just quicker and cuts him in half. So we will refer to him as Mr. 3.5 from now on, okay? I really love how brutal the scene is, because it immediately changes the tone for the series and that they are going a more mature way. Violence is really fitting for Zoro as well. He killed some of his foes. Zoro sighs, swings his sword, blows out the last candle with it, and the scene transitions. Now we see Kobe and Luffy on a little boat that represent the Love Duck, and Kobe still can't believe it. How could someone stand up against Alvida? And he asks him, how do you stretch like that? Luffy smiles, says it's a long story, and we get another flashback. We see Shanks treating the wound of Luffy, saying to him that at least he didn't hit his eye, with Luffy responding, hey, I was aiming for it. Oh, also did you know Shanks' birthday, all of the characters in One Piece have birthdays, is 9th of March, because 3-9 can be read as Shankusu, his name said in Japanese. Also, Oda stated that Shanks is the character that resembles himself the most, because of his cool and calm personality. So if you think about that, essentially Eiichiro Oda gave Luffy his straw hat, sending him off into adventure. But the real question is, where does Shanks get his straw hat from? Maybe from a character that represents Oda's role model? Also, while we're seeing Luffy in close-up here, Luffy's birthday is the 5th of May, and this day is known as Children's Day in Japan, referring to his childish character. Also, in the manga, Luffy doesn't have a lot of thought bubbles, because Luffy is the kind of person who speaks out everything that he thinks. And then Kid Luffy says to Shanks that he shouldn't be stitching it too good because everyone should see his scar. And Shanks points out that he didn't deserve the scar because there was no lesson behind it. And Luffy just wants to learn to be the best pirate ever. Then he says he even practices his face, how he's gonna look like on a wanted poster. And I love this because Luffy never looks like that in a wanted poster. You always see him smiling. Shanks points out that he would definitely be on a wanted poster someday, but it's way too early for him. Then Shanks says his ship already has an anchor, while Luffy is wearing this shirt saying anchor on it. First of all, we didn't talk about Shanks' name, because Shank is actually a part of an anchor. And there are many other parts of an anchor that sound suspicious. There's an anchor head, a crown, a tripping bomb, an arm, a fluco, a P, an anchor crowd D shackle. What? Is that where the D comes from? So Shanks' name comes from the shank of an anchor. And of course, as the number one Shanks fan out there, Luffy's wearing a shirt saying anchor on it. Essentially the best Shanks fan shirt you can wear. Oh, also I was interested when t-shirts were invented. So I looked it up, and in 1913, the Marines in real life made t-shirt-like things as undergarments for their uniforms. So they wear it under their uniforms, and if they just put off the uniform, they would just wear the shirt, right? And this got so popular via movies and such that it formed an own culture in different areas as well. And the word t-shirt actually became a thing in the 1920s. And then about 10 years later, you got the first printed shirts. So printed t-shirts are a very new thing, and usually don't fit with the pirate theme. But like I said, I love this mix of new and old. Also, there are many funny hints that Oda does with the t-shirts of characters, but we will talk about that in detail later again. Also in the background, you can hear an instrumental version of Bink's Sake. That is a song that Oda wrote in the manga and was later adapted in the anime. And the song has big significance, but this would be season 5 territory. But it's nice that they included the song here, even in season 1. Then Shanks points out Luffy is actually an anchor because he wears an anchor. And Luffy kinda regretting it that he wears this shirt on this day. Even later it will become his demise. Then he's so angry because of Shanks that he says, "Stupid Shanks!" And then he goes up and behave like he is been offended and get this very childlike angry face. He goes over to the treasure chests from Shanks' crew, kicks one of them and says, "Stupid treasure." And then a mysterious music plays while Luffy is seeing a box behind the other chests. He grabs the box and this is where our episode ends. Sorry for the extreme cliffhanger. I can't make this up. Let me take a few seconds here to say thank you. Thank you for hearing the whole second episode. Thank you for overwhelming me with such positive comments. I'm so happy that you all like this format, and I'm so excited for finishing this season and future seasons. So like I said, if we finish the whole season, we should be around episode 45. And they already said they plan out to do 6 seasons, which would mean we have 270 episodes of exactly this. Oh my god, I love this, because it's like One Piece. You don't read it or hear it in one sitting. You're experiencing it in one piece at a time. Thank you for listening, and let's set sail.